Hello, I'm Robin Gibson, and this is the Harvard House Money Morsel. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell so you get a notification of when we're releasing a new video. I'm sitting again today with Michael Porter. Hello, Michael.
Morning, Robin.
It is rather cold outside.
Yeah.
It's the 1st of August that we're filming. Is it cold in the rest of the world? I mean, this is the day that Trump has set, and I see he's already tacoed on Mexico.
So he's tacoed on Mexico. They have a 90-day reprieve. I don't think he's tacoed on anybody else.
No, I see that.
I think tariffs come into effect at midnight on the 7th of August. So I suppose there's a little bit of time for one or two more deals to be struck.
Yes.
Canada's facing 35% tariffs. I mean, there's certainly no headlines from us that we're being treated any differently to the 30% that has been announced before.
Yeah.
So I suppose there's a chance that there's a deal, but in the next 3 or 4 days. But quite a lot of countries are subject to some quite punitive tariffs, Robin. So I'm not sure we should be expecting to be treated any differently for that.
No, exactly. Yeah. And Michael, you can argue that he is Mr. Taco. He's ducking out. But there have been some deals done around the globe, haven't they? So maybe it's not all bluster with no result.
Yeah, Robin, it's a really tricky one. I mean, the trade war is not really a war. It's a very one-sided war. Countries haven't retaliated. I think there's a lot of debate, and we write about it in Intuition this week as well, in terms of, the economy has been remarkably robust up until now. And is it because it's been one-sided? Is it because tariffs have been coming for a while now and companies have had time to adjust? Is this the calm before the storm? There's a huge amount of debate out there and no one really knows, and it's going to be very interesting, I think, to see how the next couple of months unfold.
Yeah. So Michael, I mean, we talked last week about just should you be concerned, and markets were elevated and new highs, but there's a lot happening. If you disappoint, it's punishment, isn't it?
Yeah. So first of all, Robin, we had the interest rate cut yesterday, which is quite nice from our point of view.
Yes.
And I think that just, underpins the case for us a little bit. And I think that actually what was probably important yesterday was the Reserve Bank saying, despite Treasury not essentially giving the go-ahead to move the inflation target to 3%, the Reserve Bank is moving ahead and targeting 3% inflation, which is the low end of the band. So that's where they are. That's how they're going to sort of start setting monetary policies, by, relative to a 3% inflation rate as opposed to anything else. So bonds had a good rally yesterday. The rand weakened quite a lot yesterday, but it wasn't really in reaction to anything that we did. The dollar has strengthened quite a lot. I think looking at these tariffs, so the dollar, probably had one of its best couple of days in a long time, and so the rand's just weakened a little bit on that. But yeah, Robin, there are lots of company results. We're in the middle of reporting season. A couple of SA companies reported results yesterday. AB InBev actually had, volumes were a little bit weaker, but actually the results were quite solid. The share was 10% off.
Yep.
Mondi, exactly the same. Profits were down a little bit, but actually some of the core corrugated packaging was doing quite well. And they obviously bought some assets from Schumacher. I think it's Schumacher. Sorry, just getting my names wrong there. But earlier in the year, and they were 10% off. MTN came out with good results from its Nigerian unit. That was sort of 5 or 6% up. And so I think the market is very. There are wild swings everywhere. I mean, the US Meta was up 11%. Microsoft was up. Other shares are just being caned. If you have the slightest miss on expectations, then you can just expect your share price to be off 10% in a day, which I think there's a lot of high frequency trading, Robin, and a lot of day trading, and doesn't always reflect the. I don't think the move in AB InBev or Mondi reflects the underlying movement of the company at all. So essentially, it's an opportunity for people who are a bit more discerning, but it's disconcerting when you're seeing these wild swings every day.
Yeah, those are big moves in one day.
Yeah, exactly, and it's crazy. I mean, turnover on the JSE was close to 45 billion yesterday, which is kind of double the normal daily trade.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So, Michael, I mean, you've touched on Meta and Microsoft. I think you also put out a report to Bank of America earlier this week, or JP Morgan.
JP Morgan, yeah.
America seems to be holding up pretty well despite the chaos of Trump.
Yeah, Robin. I mean, I think, obviously America's under huge pressure to reduce interest rates, and the Fed is holding firm. They didn't cut interest rates this week, as widely expected, despite all Trump's protestations on that front. But yes, I mean, I think the underlying economy, as I say, is chugging along in America, Robin. But there is this really, there's a lot of questions being asked about, why is it so resilient? Where's the impact of you can see the impact of tariffs starting to come through. In inflation in the last 2 months, there's definitely some underlying inflationary pressure buildings, which makes the Fed rightly cautious. And I think the next 2 months are going to be quite key in terms of trying to gauge how much of a slowdown is coming in the US, because actually the US had Q2 GDP yesterday or the day before, 3% growth for Q2, which is very solid. Sure. Yeah. But if you look at the first half versus the first half last year, growth was only 1%.
Yeah.
So I think sequentially there is some slowing down coming, and everybody's just trying to understand whether the recession risk is still there, or whether, because tariffs have sort of been phased in over a slightly slower period, companies got used to it, whether that's mitigated it, or whether there's just been quite a lot of front loading, which has propped up the economy. I mean, Apple yesterday had their best iPhone sales in the US for quite a few quarters, but that was just because guys were rushing to buy them before the tariffs kicked in, and then knowing that the iPhone was going to be more expensive in a month or two's time, So, yeah, the next, I suppose, data for August and September will be telling, and I think we should expect some volatility in markets, because I think they're certainly going to have some stats that surprise on the upside and point to a robust situation, and others that point to a less rosy situation. And you're going to have people running from the high frequency hedge funds and things running from one side of the ship to the other.
I saw that Adidas telegraphed expect to pay a lot more for your Adidas stuff, so maybe get in well ahead if you're looking at some leisure wear out there.
Yeah, well, it doesn't necessarily apply to us, but yes, I mean, it'll be interesting to see, how the rest of the world sort of reacts as well, Yeah. And even for us, Robin, I mean, maybe the one positive, at least the government has launched, I see overnight, a sort of export hotline for companies that are affected by tariffs. But we can't ignore, I mean, the pain that could come in the Eastern Cape if the motor vehicle trade really comes under pressure. Yes. Citrus farmers as well. Those are probably the two most at risk sectors. Not to say there's not others, but yeah, we'll have to sort of see, and how quickly we can redirect exports, and but the whole world's in a sort of similar boat. So we might have tariffs on us, but other countries are also having tariffs on them. So are we necessarily worse off relative to the other people that are supplying oranges into the US? So that's what I think has still got to be decided.
That'll be interesting to see. Michael, that's been interesting. Thank you for giving us that insight. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.